You're late, delinquent. Not a good way to start summer school.
Sorry about that. I was just really caught up playing Doom and lost track of time.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I found this really cool mega whatever, and it was really fun and cool, and I wondered if you could do a lecture on it.
Okay. What megawatt are we talking about? Oh, no. Hello there, I'm MountPain27, and this is Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun. We're back for one last special episode before we really take a break, and it will be dedicated to the master levels for Doom 2, a 1995 expansion pack of Doom 2 levels made by several prominent community mappers, including new id Software hire Tim Willits, live flesh-consumed guest star John Anderson, aka Dr. Sleep, future Ion Storm designer Sverre Andre Kvernmo, aka Cranium, and Team TNT members Jim Flynn and Tom Mustaine. Unlike a traditional megawad, the master level's 21 maps are not grouped together, intended to be played one at a time from pistol starts. This makes the final product more reminiscent of a designer's showcase than a new Doom game. As commercial Doom releases go, it's an odd bird, considerably less controversial than Final Doom, but also much less coherent and competent. Let's get the elephant out of the room. I got my copy of the master levels for free when I first bought Doom 2 on Steam, and it didn't take long for me to find out why. Truth be told, I was going to put this episode off for as long as I could, but fate had other plans. Last month, Peter Lawrence released the Master Level's 25th Anniversary MIDI Pack, a set of tracks so full of levity, verve, and experimentation that they make the maps they were written for actually playable, no matter your musical preference. It's an improvement over... If you were looking forward to this episode, thank Peter by downloading his MIDI pack and sharing it with everybody you know. All pertinent links will be in this video's description. Before we dive in, here's how the show works. We give each level in the WAD 2 grades, one for quality and one for difficulty. We grade quality from A to F, and difficulty from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, and A through D in between. A grade A level is fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. Lower grades indicate the level lacks some or all of these qualities. Bear in mind that I'm not a stellar Doom player, and these reviews are 100% subjective, so our definitions of difficulty and great map design will surely differ. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. For the new viewers in the audience, here are the rules. 1. We play on ultraviolence. 2. We play each level from a pistol start. In this case, the rule is redundant. 3. In order to review the WAD, I must have played it at least twice. 4. Saves are allowed but discouraged. And 5. I go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions in cases where it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom with compatibility settings on strict. Now to the WAD. Map 1, Attack. Essentially a deathmatch map with monsters in it, Tim Willits' Attack resembles the secret map he did for Thy Flesh Consumed. It's tan, symmetrical, and makes my eyelids heavy. Truth be told, I've played it more than any other master level, so that's gotta count for something. This secret teleporter is a strange touch and completely unnecessary, as you can open up these bars to go outside after acquiring the yellow key. The hardest thing about this map is remembering to kill these two zombies behind the exit building. Attack is one of the best maps in the master levels. Grade C. Difficulty E. Map 2. Canyon. According to their text files, both of Tim Willits' master level submissions come with the following features: support for all 5 skill levels, great deathmatch level, great outdoor settings, well-placed monsters, use of all 3 keys, can be completed without cheating, excellent texture alignment, great windows for sniping. This is really helpful information, because I'm always running into Doom levels with monster placement, all kinds of texture alignment problems, no decent windows for sniping, and don't you just hate it when level designers make you cheat to beat a map, and don't use all 3 keys? Canyon is zested with a lot of hit scanners, and attempts several aesthetics without settling on any of them. You've got metal, green marble, slime factory, gray tech base, and more. Reaching the exit opens monster closets all over the map that also contain secret power-ups which are pointless, since continuous play is not a thing. Grade C-, difficulty D. Map 3, the Catwalk. This will be most players' first exposure to Kristen Cly, who authored the plurality of the master levels for reasons no one can adequately explain. I'm getting Gene Bird flashbacks, guys. There's a special place in hell for maps that are neither good enough to be fun, nor bad enough to be funny, and that description fits everything I've played by Kristen Cly. His maps are anonymous, boring, and not creative despite how much they yearn to be. Cly's placement particularly is really erratic. He gives the player crumbs to deal with a fairly tricky start, then unexpectedly throws the easy mode switch late in the level. I really don't need a Megasphere and 32 rockets to deal with 3 Hell Knights. The catwalk takes all the wrong lessons from the chasm, excising any sense of atmosphere or exploration while playing up the pointless death pits and platforming tomfoolery. Don't fall, Lamau. Catwalk makes Doom 2's gimmick maps look subtle and clever by comparison, though the title structure doesn't even come into play until the end. It'll collapse when you run across it, so make sure to grab the red key and finish up your business before you do, or just don't play the map at all. Oh, and don't forget about the 11th hour shootable secret walls and unnecessary BFG. This map is silly. Grade D-, difficulty D-. Map 4, the Combine. Even an excellent Peter Lawrence groove can't save the Combine from its own stupidity. The tedium is much more likely to kill you than the smattering of hit scanners in this tech base. The way forward does not easily present itself, and Chris Cly seems to take pride in his own obtuseness. The Combine doesn't take long to finish, but a lot of its runtime is wasted on inanities like this room full of switches and this unlovable platforming stage. I don't know why the plasma rifle has to be crusher trapped, or why hitting this switch lowers a chain gun when I just killed a chain gunner with a chain gun, or why when you've got all the keys you still need to shoot this switch to exit. I don't even care. Grade D, difficulty D. Map 5, the Fistula. The name means an abnormal connection between two body parts, such as an organ or blood vessel and another structure, but since I'm not a medical professional, I always thought it sounded goofy. The Fistula invests noticeably in its quirky architecture, and doesn't know the first thing about fun. It's another hat full of hit scanners, another key hunt, another death pit. Another yawn. Props to Peter's laid-back MIDI, though. I dig it. Grade D, difficulty D-. Oh my god, we're only 5 maps in. Map 6, the Garrison. Probably the hardest Chris Cly map in the set, the Garrison smacks you with hit scanners and a few inopportune pain elementals early on, which can be tough to deal with under restricted ammo conditions. I actually took my first death here. The map only gets worse after the first 60 seconds, forcing you to look for yet another full set of keys, negotiate toxic surfaces, and clear out battalions of pushover enemies. Hey look, this room has pointless crushers, platforming, a fake wall, and an inescapable pit. Bingo! I never actually got 100% kills in this map until recording for this episode because of this secret.
What is that? What the is that?
This part where you have to kind of scoot onto a railing and drop down to get the yellow key bothers me on a subatomic level. It's such a brainless, unnecessary awkwardness. I don't understand it. Grade D-, difficulty D. Map 7, Titan Manor. If you thought a change of author was going to right the ship for the master levels, then you were sadly mistaken. Even if you know what the hell you're supposed to be doing, which I promise you won't on first go around, Titan Manor is exasperating. Most of the action takes place inside the central structure, where you'll be treated to Jim Flynn's peculiar brand of sadism amidst the shrieks, groans, and mechanized stomping of the monsters outside. Rather than challenge you combat-wise, Flynn giddily eschews the already minimal internal logic of Doom's commercial releases to bring you a puzzle map, in big quotes. In Jim Flynn's world, anything can be a door, or a lift. Any line def or patch of light can be a switch, and getting where you want to go is half the fun, in even bigger air quotes. I wonder why this kind of level never caught on. I just love mandatory secrets, platforming with monsters underneath you, hitting switches that don't do anything, fighting barons in tight quarters, and being punished for making wrong turns in a level that is designed to confuse me. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I id-clipped to find the last 2 monsters because frankly I didn't feel like doom waking the solution mid-recording and had long since run out of patience for Flynn's shenanigans. You couldn't pay me to play this map again. Grade F, difficulty C-. Map 8, Paradox. This ultra-brown and geometrically orthodox map is a breath of fresh air for its intensity and unclutteredness. It does come off as a bit copy-pasted, but at least it has some fire in its belly. The monsters, especially the chain gunners and mancubi, are dug in, and with your limited arsenal, it's not easy to carve out space for yourself in the first few minutes. Find the SSG earlier than I did if you want to stand a chance, and sniff out this TNT-esque fake wall secret if you need a pick-me-up. The highest compliment I can give Tom Mustaine is this is my least favorite level of his that I've played, but it's the most fun I've had on the master levels so far. Grade C, difficulty C. Map 9, Subspace. Delinquent, what is it that you like about the master levels?
Oh, it's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the levels are really creative and cool and interesting. I had a lot of fun playing
What
them.
did you think of Subspace?
Was that the brown one?
Be more specific.
The brown one with the The one with the brown walls and stuff.
Ah, that's Subterra. Subspace is the one where you start off by shooting a door that reveals a red key, which opens a door that's right in front of you. You remember, the one with the floating switch cube, and the walls that are actually doors, and the part where it locks you in the yellow key room if you haven't activated the switch behind the computer panel? You know, the one that references the chasm for the 15th time. The one with the rocket launcher on the exit teleporter that you can't grab and wouldn't need for any reason.
Yeah, that one. I remember it was like really like artistic, you know? It was like sometimes a door doesn't look like a door, but it is, you know? It's like really profound Doom stuff. Like Mucus Flow.
Subspace is a map you should never play. Grade F, difficulty E. Map 10, Subterra. Why, oh why, would you assign the same prefix to two of your levels? It's like Cly wanted Subspace and Subterra to be confused. The Delinquent of Doom almost had it right. Subterra is even browner than Paradox and significantly more lifeless. It reprises all of Kristen Cly's favorite things. Death pits, somnambulant combat, funky elevators, pointless, unmerciful balance beam sections, and frivolous power-ups. It's not his worst map. The big fight in the underground area even resembles fun, almost. Thankfully, Sub-Something is short, relatively simple, and given a welcome reprieve from running from evil. Grade D, difficulty D, good riddance. Map 11, Trapped on Titan. Oh boy, Jim Flynn's back. Trapped on Titan is probably the... Oh, I'm dead already. That was fun. Trapped on Titan is probably the most uneven master level. Its best moments are legitimately creative and enjoyable, but they're confounded by Flynn's compulsion to overcomplicate things. Let's start with the good stuff. The red key room full of lowering columns may be ugly as sin, but it yields an excellent fight. A barrage of hit scanners, cacodemons, revenants, hell knights, and finally an archvile, whose appearance changes the game completely. For about 10 seconds, it feels like a Skillsaw fight, ducking behind unreliable cover trying not to get zapped. The city area features the largest scale fights in the map set, which play especially well held against the mostly puny and cramped first 10 maps. In the last room, you can activate a Crusher and trap a Cyber Demon in it by taunting him to follow you into a teleporter. It's brilliant. Finally, Flynn is gracious with power-ups and ammo. He gives you 2 supercharges, 3 mega armors, 4 mega spheres, 5 berserk packs, and 234 rockets to work with. Unfortunately, Trapped on Titan is also a mess of room ideas duct taped together. Flynn likes to lock you inside those rooms until you've figured out exactly what he wants you to do. If you've never played this map, expect to take over 45 minutes figuring out what switches to hit in what order, what keys you'll need, and how to get where you want to go. T-Trap is full of elevator riding, platforming, and then more elevator riding when you fall or take a wrong turn, and the secrets are inscrutable and pretty much pointless unless you're 100% hit. I think the Master Level's legacy would have been very different if all its maps were like this one. Trapped on Titan can piss me off and genuinely entertain me in the same half hour. Well, it mostly pisses me off, but fun is a commodity in this map pack. Grade C+, difficulty B-. Map 12, Virgil's Lead. Well, Doom and Trap is a bit of a strange marriage, but then again, John Anderson's backstory for this map includes the phrase Virgil the Beatnik Space Poet. It's the master levels, man. Anything goes. Dr. Sleep has the most consistent, and you might even say insistent, visual shtick of the 6 master levels designers, which makes sense because his submissions were all part of an unfinished, Dante-themed wad called Inferno, made up of 9 cantos. His maps are nocturnal, corridor-heavy, and by 1995 standards, intricately lit. He's got a sweet tooth for secrets, but doesn't hide them spitefully, and rarely gives the player more than they can handle, for now. I admire its advanced visual chops, but Virgil is a bit flimsy on the combat side, and this courtyard of unmarked doors locked behind skull keys is kind of annoying. By master level standards, it's a cut above. Grade C, difficulty D-. Map 13, Minos' Judgment. A pleasant balance of challenge and intrigue, Minos' Judgment is a superior iteration of the Dr. Sleep formula. This low-lit labyrinth holds copious secrets for curious players, and the calibration of its combat is as chill as its new MIDI. As with the majority of the master levels, the fights kind of blend together, but I do appreciate Anderson's willingness to use archviles, and if you're not on the lookout for new weapons, it's easier than you'd think to run low on ammo. In this map set, Anderson's professionalism is a harbor in a hurricane. At this point, I'll take conventionality over anything on the menu so far. Grade B-, difficulty B. Map 14, Bloodsea Keep. Probably the least remembered map by Sverre Drake Fernmo, whose name I can only pronounce because I practiced a lot. If you don't want to bother, you can call him Cranium. Bloodsea Keep plays like a Doom 2 outtake. It always reminds me of the Citadel, with its stony fortress aesthetic and optional content. It's much meaner than that map in some ways, but I don't mind it for the most part. Unless you know where the big guns are and go for them early, you're forced to hack it with the shotgun for an awfully long time, and ammo's a bit scarce, though most of Cranium's combat demands patience more than skill. Fernmo adores crushers in this map. The basement section is cumbersome because because of them, especially when trying to conserve health, and same goes for the ending. Note that one secret will become inaccessible if the map isn't played in a map 7 slot, as killing a Mancubus opens it. Ironically, that Mancubus doesn't appear on I'm Too Young to Die and Hate Not Too Rough, so it's locked for those skill levels as well. The ending's a bit of a letdown. After all the crushers and switches, you're given only one archvile to dispatch, and that's all she wrote. Bloodsea Keep isn't bad, I guess, but at this point my standards are very low. Grade C, difficulty C. Map 15, Mephisto's Misspelled Mausoleum. Timeout. This story requires some explanation. In order to make the master levels compatible with Peter's MIDI pack, I had to open Doom Builder, take the individual master levels WAD files, give them new map numbers, and lump them together in a single WAD containing all 21 maps in the sequence prescribed by the MIDI pack. You load the master levels FrankenWAD and Peter's MIDI WAD at the same time, and voila. The problem, I realized belatedly, is a few master levels depend on their original slot to work properly. So, Mephisto's Mausoleum, which is misspelled uniquely in the Unity port by the way, is a sand-swept turd of a map. You start off by killing 7 revenants in a wide open space with weapons too weak for the job. Then, you press on this slightly off-color dirt mound, kill the revenant inside, and take a teleporter into the mausoleum in one of the master level's most frustrating fights. 8 revenants on narrow walkways with no cover, and if you fall in, you can only get out by teleporting back to the center of the arena, where the skeletons will promptly Mephist you to death. It's not the hardest fight in the world, but it got in my head and I died here a surprising amount. Then it comes time to pick off the 4 Mancubi caged in the Icons of Sin. It's best to do this with a chain gun because you'll want to save rockets for later, but you can hardly see them, the chain gun tends to muffle their attack sound, and you're open to fire from all directions. It's an absolute chore to eliminate them without taking cheap hits, but I did it. And then, nothing happened. Killing the Mancubi is supposed to lower 4 walls with Hell Knights behind them, but that only happens in map 7s, and this version of Mephisto was slotted in map 15. So, I had to play the map again. I despise this level. The combat is procedural at best and excruciating at worst. Kvarenmo goes out of his way to confuse you. The map is claustrophobic and ugly and hostile and stupid. Yes, stupid. The final fight is just you spamming rockets at an Icon of Sin in an effort to disperse the herd of specters Kvarenmo placed in front of Romero's head while monsters spawn on top of you. This map is the worst thing ever. Grade F, difficulty B. Map 16, Nessus. By its author's own admission, Nessus is primarily a deathmatch level, but you know what? This time the refurbishment actually works. Nessus is short and fast-paced, a riff on Dead Simple set at night. Speaking of riffage, check out Peter's MIDI. Nessus is short and painless, and with a new soundtrack, it gets upgraded to kind of fun. Grade B-, difficulty D. Map 17, Garrion. Garrion is almost Dr. Sleep's masterpiece, a Stygian stroll through chilly courtyards, toxic waste, and shadowy halls that diverges enough from his other work to stick in your mind. Sure, some of the teleporters are pretty pointless, the fights are meek, and some of these non-secret areas will have you scratching your head, but it's the only master level I would label relaxing, mostly due to its MIDI, contributed by guest artist Blue, which gives it an exploratory spirit. This is what custom MIDI packs are all about, coaxing new nuances out of maps you played a million times, giving you something like the experience of playing them for the first time again. It'd be a nice sentiment if it wasn't the master levels we were talking about. Anyway, Garrion saves its best for last, an explosive BFG fest capped off by a token archvile at the exit. Not bad at all. Grade B-, difficulty D. Map 18, Vesperis. Easily Dr. Sleep's worst map, Vesperis is a shameless Nessus rehash except harder, full of mean traps you can't prepare for on first run. This room with a plasma and 20 damage poison floor is debilitating and contains the dumbest moment of the map. There's an invisible bridge, or really thin ledge, however you want to look at it, to the left of this platform that gives you access to a megasphere and the yellow key, which is required, but tagged as a secret for some reason. The Cyberdemon finale is a disappointment. With the invulnerability in hand, you're, well, invulnerable. I think Dr. Sleep's maps suffer from being packed together. They're too aesthetically consistent and not individually memorable enough to keep my eyes from glazing over a bit. Grade D+, difficulty C. Map 19, Black Tower. So the map's craniums submitted to the master levels actually have a story behind them. You were once the biggest and baddest cyberdemon to rule hell, and you spearheaded the council that governed the underworld, the Cabal. Betrayed by the other members, you find yourself not only dismantled, but also a victim of the utmost demonic humiliation. You've been morphed into a human. Of course, you're out for revenge. Black Tower is about taking down your old cyberdemon buddy Chagrin, who lives in a box on the top floor. Fun fact, this was the second master level I ever played because it comes second alphabetically. That was a mistake. Black Tower is easily the longest and most involved map in the set, home to the broadest variety of fights and design decisions in the master levels. 95% of first-timers will absolutely hate Black Tower. It's slow, cramped, cryptic, and pitiless, but take an open mind into subsequent playthroughs and it will reward you. This courtyard infight is good fun, the Baron battle on the stairs is pretty snazzy, and not too strenuous with the rocket launcher in hand. The 4th floor teleporting monster room is probably the least obnoxious iteration of the idea I've seen, and its second stage with the pain elementals is devilish. Peter's surging, spiraling MIDI, erecting the Black Tower, fits like a glove. I attribute most of my newfound liking for this map to his music. There are parts of this map that never grow on you. The 2nd floor switch puzzle is extremely odd, and some of the cacodemons intended to float in through the windows get stuck in their holding pens. Floor 3 is claustrophobic and can get annoying, and the cyber showdown on the roof is pretty anticlimactic. All told, I have to say Black Tower demonstrates undeniable ambition, and it translates to one of the best experiences in the master levels. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 20. Teeth. Perhaps the most loathed master level of them all, the express elevator to hell is easily the most hostile, uncompromising, hurtful, impenetrable, and flat-out dirty motherfucker in the set. So why do I kinda like it? Teeth is 8 floors of pain branching from the central hub like wheel spokes. The map is asphyxiating by design. Career mode demands the player be nimble despite the limited space. I can't imagine trying to do this keyboard only. If you condition yourself to expect hideously unfair hit-scan ambushes, hellacious fights in tight spaces, and protracted switch hunts, you can kinda step back and appreciate Teeth as the creative piece of work that it almost is. Of course, there's no excusing what happens when you go to the 6th floor. Monster closets open on all 8 levels, and when you get back to the elevator, you're suddenly expected to deal with Barons and Revenants in the round going up and down. Reaching the secret exit mandates an archvile jump, but that's not something I care to put myself through. Teeth is vicious and cheap, and maybe it's the Plutonia apologist in me, but after 2 replays I don't mind it so much. Grade C-, difficulty A-. You weren't really playing this earlier today, were you?
No, I just heard it was really bad and I wanted to see how you'd react to it.
I thought so.
Doom is dumb.
Alright, class dismissed. You can go back to Call of Duty now. Map 21, Bad Dream. Bad Dream is fairly self-explanatory. Take down 34 cyberdemons with the chainsaw, or run for your life. The exit is locked behind 3 keys, so outmaneuver the cybies, grab the invul and beat the crusher, then kill the last 3 monsters and wake up from this nightmare. Obviously, Bad Dream is a joke map, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's an appropriately irreverent and low IQ conclusion to the master levels for Doom 2. Grade C, difficulty D-. So, people who say Final Doom shouldn't have been sold for money haven't played the master levels for Doom 2. It's easily outshined by contemporaneous community work like Memento Mori and put to shame by TNT and Plutonia. I'll give some credit to the high points of Jim Flynn and Spheric Fernmo's work. Their innovations opened the door to bolder and more successful community experiments later on, but it takes a high tolerance for bullshit to even get to those moments. As for Mustaine, Willits, and Dr. Sleep, their maps are pretty antiseptic. But Kristen Klei had absolutely no business getting paid for his work. As a complete product, the master levels is disjointed and sluggish. The maps that aren't completely forgettable are completely horrible. It's worth a single playthrough for Peter's MIDI pack, but after that, steer clear of it. My final grade for the master levels is a D, and that's taking the new soundtrack into account. Difficulty-wise, it's also a D, on par with Doom 2, but arguably more inconsistent. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Peter Lawrence. Salutatorian, Map 19, Black Tower. Class President, Map 20, Teeth. And the dunce cap goes to, well, I'm giving out 3 today because the master levels deserve special treatment. Map 7, Titan Manure, Map 9, Sub Whatever, and Map 15, Icon of Put This Map in the Bin. Peter's jokes, not mine. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts in the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons: Aaron Allen, Akalai, Alex Max, Amburion, Callum Duncan, Cheese Wheel, Chris O'Neill, Christophine Place, Delirium, Dorothy Miller, Emma Essex, Fairweather, Garu Dave, General Roasterock, Griffin Upchurch, Gus Shade, Holy Hell Revealed When, Jared Bly, Camille Bernadotte, Leon Staten, Mark Rowland, Marky Music, Master Drew 117, Mixer, Myolden, Neurometry, Nick Machado, One True Purple, Pyro She, Sid Manon, Sir Marcy, Stupid Nick, The Bell Tolls, TJG1289, Turbine 2K5, and Zach. Thank you. I appreciate all of you very much. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you all in the next season of Dean of Doom.